Have you ever felt like the world was spinning out of control, and although you were doing a lot of things, you weren't doing any of them well? Stay tuned. That's how my week was last week, and I'm trying to correct that. We'll talk about that in this video. Balance. Have you ever thought that maybe that's what you need is balance in your life? How do you balance everything that you have going on, whether you're a mom, a wife, a career woman, a caregiver, a daughter, all of the things that we balance in our life? How do we make that make sense? And how do we do everything well? Earlier this week, or this past week, I was trying to do everything I needed to do every single day. And I wasn't doing anything well. I couldn't focus on one thing. I was trying to rush through one thing so I could get to the next thing and rush over to do the next thing. And by the end of the week, I was just frustrated. So I sat down and I did what we're going to talk about in this video. I'll tell you, stay tuned, and I'll tell you the steps I took and what I'm starting this week, where I'm starting to focus one thing per day. Or, there's some things you have to do every day, but one big thing every single day. I'm trying that. So with balance, you can look up on the internet, you can look up on YouTube, and you're going to find so much on balance. You're going to find vitamins they're trying to sell you, special diets that they're trying to sell you. It just seemed like just using the word balance, I opened up to all ads. I don't know why we can't just get some balance without having to buy something special. So this week I went on a search for looking for balance and how to find that in my life. And as I looked, I realized that nature is completely balanced. The way God made this earth, it started out in complete balance. He's balanced the earth, the dirt. He's balanced so much. Let me show you a few things around my yard about balance in nature. Everything in nature either thrives or dies according to balance. Even our little squirrel right there. Extremes cause death, but balance brings life. Soil health is important. Your soil must not be too acidic or too alkaline. And in nature, plants perfectly balance that in the soil. Some plants are heavy feeders and take from the soil, while others replace nutrients in the soil. Your soil cannot be too wet or too dry. Too dry soil will dry out your plants and not get them the nutrients they need from the soil. Too wet, and the roots will rot, and mold and other bacteria will form. So what do we learn from nature about balance? Nature and God has created from the beginning of time a perfect balance. I mean, we as humans have messed that up a little bit because of the way we now do farming and agriculture, and the way we throw things into our landfill, and we use up our resources and don't return things the way plants, although they use up resources from the soil, they actually return those when they die. They become the resources again for another plant. So we do mess it up. However, what can we learn from nature in our own lives? And that is that any extreme is bad. So too much of a good thing is not a good thing, and too little of a good thing is not a good thing. And so we learn how we need both rest and work. Too much work is not good, because wear out your body. You become tired, worn out, burned out. And too much rest is not a good thing either. You become lazy. Once again, your body doesn't perform well if you are sitting in a chair all day long. You have to, even if you can't get out of that chair, need to be doing some sort of exercises, getting some fresh air in some way. And that's what nature teaches us, that if you have too much rain is a very, very good thing for plants. But if you have too much rain, you end up not with a place that can have plants, but you end up with kind of a bog or a swamp, and that's no good. If you don't have enough rain, or you have too much summer, you have a desert where it's really hard for things to grow, although things do adapt to that. If you have too much winter, then you have the Arctic, and it makes it really hard to live there. People do live there, but they have to work at it. But when you have both summer and winter, and when you have both rain and periods of drying out, what you have is a perfect balance where it's inhabitable and comfortable to live in. It's not comfortable to live where it's too hot or too cold. We like it just right. It's kind of like Goldilocks and the Three Bears. She loved it just right. And so we have to learn that in our own world. We have to learn that we need work just as much as we need rest. And so it's good to go out and earn a living. It's good to work in the soil. It's good to, break a sweat. That's good for us. And believe it or not, it's also good, you'll see it over and over again in the Bible, that it is good for us to maybe even have some trials, some difficulties in our life. Every time God works with someone or is about to do something great in somebody's life, if you notice, all the characters, then they go through a time of wilderness, a time that is hard, and that is good for them, believe it or not. So having everything handed to you, like if you are raising kids right now and you are trying to give them everything that you didn't have, that's not going to be good either, because they'll become spoiled, and yet if they're lacking a lot, that's not good either. If they're lacking nutrition and good meals, so it's like that perfect balance of when we raise our kids. It's that perfect balance of discipline, and God does that with us too. And so if you're experiencing a time of wilderness, of discipline, it's a time that God wants to teach you something. So you need to ask yourself, or ask God, what are you trying to teach me right now? What are you trying to balance out in my life that I need a little bit more of? You can just ask God, what that is. In Ecclesiastes, chapter 3, I believe, it says there's a time to be born and a time to die. There's a time to plant and then a time to tear that up. So there's that time in spring when we're planting and everything, and then there's that time at the end of fall, right, at winter, or if you leave it all winter long, now you got to clean it up, and then it's reborn, and so it's good for that. And so I have been evaluating my schedule, just like we talked about a couple weeks ago. Schedule is a big one, where if I have too much work, I become restless and exhausted, my body aches. And if I have too much play, that's not good, if I have too much on my plate. And so what I did this week, at the end of the week, when I was so frustrated, my hubby helped me, I said, I just feel like I'm doing so much and I'm not doing anything well. And I really like to do things and do them well. So I ended up making a list, and I'm going to show you exactly what I did with my hubby's help. He says, well, you're good at lists. Let's make a list. So let me show you what my list was. So the first question I asked myself is, why do I want balance? Or you can also word it as, what does balance mean to me? And this is basically talking about what it is that I'm thinking that I'm going to achieve with balance. Why is this so important to me? So go ahead and write out what balance means to you, what you would hope to gain from making your life more balanced. The second thing I did was with help from my hubby. After me coming to him really frustrated in what I was going to do, how was I going to meet all of the obligations that I needed to meet? He had the idea, well, you always make lists and you come out better after your list. So I made a list, and what I did while my hubby was there is I made a list of all of the things I have to do. Those were things that I couldn't change. I mean, doing laundry and dishes and cleaning the house, taking care of your children would be one. There's certain things that there's nothing you can do. They are in that season of your life, or maybe in all seasons of life. One of mine is some of the alterations that I do that I don't enjoy doing, but I need to do them to take care of people and to make sure that, I have an income coming in. It might be your job. Those are the things that you're going to do on the have to. Second, this was my favorite part. I wrote down all of the things I want to do. These are the things that tend to get pushed aside when your schedule gets heavy. I made a list of all of the things I want to do. I want to garden. I want to dig in the dirt. I want to spend quiet time with God. I want to have quiet moments. I want to have a better health. I want to eat better. And those are actually part of the have to do, and yet I had made them a want to do. And some of the important have to do's got thrown off the list because I think of them more as a want to do, and I don't take good care of myself. So I made a list regardless of whether I had time to do those in my schedule or not. I made a list of all of the want to do's. And then this one is where I was feeling pretty frustrated because I didn't know what I felt called to do versus what I felt like I was obligated to do, and separate those. What do you feel called to do? What is something, it might be on your want to do's, it might be on your have to do's, but you feel like God is calling you in this season of your life to do that. Maybe it's something you felt called to do in another season of life, and maybe time has passed and that can no longer go on this list. Maybe it needs to go on the, on the I don't know which list that would go on, but basically you got your feel called to do, and then the ones that you thought you were called to do, and maybe they aren't really what God's calling you to do. There probably needs to be a second list here with those things, but I had put question marks next to the ones where I thought, I feel called to do it, but I had huge question marks next to them. So I took the things that I definitely felt like God was leading me to do and put those there. And then for the next section, I found things that are wasting my time. They could be good things, but what is it that is wasting your time? Make a list of those things. Maybe, scrolling on Facebook or social media, maybe some of that is beneficial. Maybe part of that is your have to because it's part of your business, but maybe there's another part that can be wasting your time. Maybe some mindless TV watching. Now, TV watching could be part of your rest, but is it adding value to your life? So that's that next part. Once you have all of these and have hashed through this, then we'll decide what to do with it. Number 3 is super important. Now that you've decided what is a have to, very important to keep on your list? What are your want tos? What are your, what you feel called to? And maybe there's a lot of things on the list, or maybe you didn't even write them down, that are distractions. What are the distractions? You need to remove the distractions and figure out what that is. In other words, removing the things that are not adding value to your life. What are the things that are just wasting your time? They don't create rest in your life. They don't create any kind of value for you or your loved ones. What can you remove so that you have time to do the things that are most important? Think about that. Think about those long and hard. And number 4 is to set allotted days or times to focus on what is most important. And I should add to that, to you. Not what's important to other people's opinions, not what's important to keeping up, a good appearance, not all of that, but what's most important to your value system. And that is very important. I decided to take certain days and allot those to focus. So one thing I did this week is I took all of the things that were distracting me and removed it from my calendar, from my schedule. I took all of the things I want or I have to do, and I placed those. Some of those things are daily things I have to do. But then the things that I feel called to do, the things I want to do, I broke down my week to try to focus on one thing, one big thing a day. And of course, I'm doing all of the laundry and the dishes and the cooking dinner on those days. But I'm talking about one full day that my only focus is one thing. Now that might be something that's a have to do, which I enjoy, is my alterations. I placed them on 3 different days of the week where I will not make any videos. I will not go, take care of other family members unless there's a true crisis. I will focus on just sewing. Then one of the things that was really hard is I really feel called to do this channel, but it felt like there were so many things stopping me. So I would try to make a video, and then I'd have technical difficulties, and yet that day I still needed to go out and sew. And so I was getting frustrated. And then there were also needs for my family members and for my husband, and just the daily grind, and a lot of the things with moving my mother-in-law and getting her set up. And she's pretty well set up, so I don't have as much to do. But what was happening is I was trying to take all of these important things and try to do them all in every day. And instead, I was not getting anything accomplished well. Everything I was doing was like done okay or just enough. And I love to do things well. And so I chose to put all of my video making, all of my Bible study on a certain day, so I can just focus on that, and I don't have to worry about wrapping that up and getting on to sewing. And then on the days that I get to sew, I can sit and sew all day long and not worry about whether I've got to post a video or whether I need to clean the house. I have those allotted on some other days. And then I can put my focus and my love and my attention into my sewing for those brides. And I have always loved to, while I'm sewing, to do a few different things. One is I pray over that bride, and I pray over her future marriage and her future. And I have been so busy and distracted and doing too many things that I haven't had that focus, and I needed that focus back. And then the other thing I love to do is after I've done some praying and stuff like that while I'm sewing, when I'm doing some mindless, hand stitching or whatever, I love to watch YouTube videos on whatever subject I'm studying that week for our Bible study group, and for our Fridays and for my Sunday group. And so I'll be doing that on certain days of the week with my sewing. So I feel like today it's like a new week, and I feel like I have a new schedule, and we're going to see if this works out. I'll let you guys know. Today is the day that I'm completely focusing on making video content, improving that, also studying the Word of God, studying my subject matter of whatever I'm talking about, and enjoying the process of communicating with you guys and hanging out with you guys. And I think I can fully then enjoy the process instead of rushing through it. So I hope you can do that in your own life. Try it. Make yourself a list. Figure out what you can remove. Figure out what's important, what you want to do. Balance it with rest. Balance it with family time, time with your friends or your husband. Balance it with good nutrition, exercise, but find a spot for each thing, and then give it more love and focus on each thing without having to see so many irons in the fire all over the place. Have you ever noticed that in marriage you marry your opposite? I'm sneaking up on Jay. He doesn't know I'm videoing. Opposites attract. We are complete opposites. We balance each other out. What are you? I'm scheduled, regimented. Jay is...
It's water plants.
Free spirit.
Yeah. I wasn't even supposed to do this, and I'm doing it.
He brings the fun to our marriage.
Exactly.
I bring the schedule. The reality.
Regimental.
Yeah. So have you ever noticed that in relationships, and that includes friendships, if you're not married, it includes friendships, a good friend will balance you out. God did that on purpose. So find a good, true friend that might be the opposite and drive you a little bit crazy, but gives you balance and brings the opposite of what you need, or the opposite of what you are, and it's what you need.
And water your plants when you can't.
Exactly. One thing that when my life is completely out of balance that I forget is to eat healthy. I usually, if I'm in a hurry, grab the quickest thing, and that isn't always the healthiest thing. And I also forget to drink water because I'm moving at a fierce pace. And when I used to own the bridal shop, if we had an intense bridal week, I would go without water just because I didn't have time to go to the bathroom, didn't have time to stop and refill my drink, and that took its toll on my body. And not sitting down for a good breakfast, or not taking time to have a little lunch, or just a little quiet time, maybe a 15-minute break, really was harsh on my body. And so one thing I'm learning with balance in my life, and slowing down a little bit, is that I need to schedule those times, because if I don't schedule them, they don't happen. So just having a quiet moment to maybe sit in the garden, or just grab some nutritious breakfast or nutritious lunch, hang out with my kitty here, who's, you can't quite see him in there, but this is Duke, and just take a moment to breathe and relax before jumping right back into the busyness. That's super important, having balance in your nutrition, and it will bring you better health, which will give you better peace. Thank you guys for joining me today. Thanks for hanging out in my garden. Thanks for hanging out with me and talking about something very important, and that is finding balance in your life. I hope this week you can find more balance, get rid of some of those distractions, and schedule the important things, and schedule them one at a time so you can give them your love and your focus. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Once again, this is Krista, and this channel is Finding Shalom. And Duke is coming over to say goodbye too, huh? Say hi, say goodbye. Please like and subscribe and share and all those kind of things. And we're sending our love home with you guys. Love you guys. Have a good week. Bye. I was trying to get Dutchie to sit next to me. This is what we got. What a mess. Waiting for the dog next door to quit barking. He just keeps barking and barking. So many distractions going on, so much craziness around here. Huh? He's quiet. Maybe I'll start filming now.